this organization has been in a testing time primarily because of the two factor. First is uh, they are into a situation for which they are not trained. They are trained to uh, diagnose a crime, go after the uh, criminal, and put him before the court of law. For that, they are trained. Now is the situation they have to control the victims, not the criminals, the victims of COVID. That is one aspect of the situation. The second aspect is the perception of public in general towards police. The general perception is that uh, it is a hard law controlling mechanism with a baton wielding power. Police automatically means lathi. So that perception is there with the general public. And when the role of police change in situation, there occur a mismatch between the perception of public and the working of the police. And people started telling, "Why yo kya ho gaya?" So that create a problem because for anybody need to have controlling authority, need to have power, and somebody can have power only when the other on whom he is using it obey that power. So obeying and using both go together, and in a pandemic situation, many situations occur which doesn't permit this. And if you add to that the uh, you know the citizen journalism, anybody with a mobile become a potential journalist, that also added tension in the working of the police. So in this context, we'll be analyzing the social policing, its basic structure, how it goes about, and how it cope itself in a pandemic situation. And with that a little bit of introduction, let me uh, go to the next step, and I will request my colleagues, Mr. Arif Raja. Raja, you are there? Arif?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Arif Raja to uh, give a brief introduction of our register, Mr. Padmalochan Bhai. Over to you, Arif.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thanks Himanshu Charan Sarangi, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I consider it my proud privilege to introduce my teacher, the head of the department Sanskrit, and the registrar of Kalahandi University, Mr. Padmalochan Bhoe, sir. He has the unique distinction of being the last principal of the parent institution, Government College Autonomous Bhavani Patna, and the first registrar of its offspring, the Kalahandi University. He is the epitome of a teacher, a learner, and a inspirer. He is the real life personification of the age-old saying, Namanti Falino Bruksha, Namanti Gunino Janaha. On behalf of Department of Sociology, Kalahandi University, I welcome you, sir, to this webinar and request you to inspire us with a few words. Padmalochan Bhoe, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Arif. Uh, Honorable VC sir, Professor S.K. Sanjay Kumar Satpathy, Honorable Om Prakash Mishra, IPS Joint Commissioner of Police, Licensing Department, New Delhi, Pinak Mishra, and our beloved elder brother S.C. Sarangi, HOD Sociology, and other dignitaries. सोशियोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट की तरफ से आज एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण वेबिनार आयोजन किया गया है। इसका विषय आप लोगों को पता होगा, आप लोग सब जानते हैं कि लिया गया है सोशल पोलिसिंग ड्यूरिंग द पेंडेमिक, स्ट्रेटेजिक एंड चैलेंजेस। षडंगी साहब ने तो बहुत कुछ कह दिया आज की ये वेबिनार के बारे में, इस बारे में मैं ज्यादा नहीं कहूंगा। मुझे सिर्फ इतना कहना है कि जो हम लोग क्या स्ट्रेटेजी अवलंबन किए हैं और चैलेंजेस क्या है। हम सब जानते हैं चैलेंजेस मतलब वो ये समस्या है हमारे आगे बहुत बड़ा है। हम बहुत कुछ उसको इस चैलेंजेस को मीट करने के लिए, उस समस्या को समाधान करने के लिए हम लोग बहुत कुछ स्ट्रेटजी लिए हैं, हमारा सरकार ने लिए हैं, हमारा पुलिस लोगों ने लिए। वो जो सोशल मतलब सुरक्षा हम लोगों को चाहिए, सामाजिक सुरक्षा चाहिए, वो कौन दे सकता है? वो तो सामने में देखने से तो हमारा भी कर्तव्य है इस समाज का सुरक्षा के लिए। तो मैं ज्यादा कुछ नहीं कहूंगा, मैं सुनना चाहूंगा जो हमारे वक्ता लोग हैं उन लोगों से। ये जो चैलेंजेस है, जो समस्या है आज का, हम कैसे उसका समाधान कर पाएंगे, हम लोगों को दिग्दर्शन करेंगे, यही उम्मीद रख के मैं रहता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Voice sir. Now I'll call upon a friend of mine, Professor Ravindra Kumar Mahanti. He is the head of the Department of Sociology, Mizoram Central University. And he has done his master in sociology from Center for the Study of Social System, School of Social Sciences, JNU, PhD from Meerut University, and postdoctoral from the University of Nottingham, England. And he is associated with multiple specialization, and one of that is criminology. And to begin with, I'll thank Ravi to be with us, and I request him to carry forward his task, that is provide a brief introduction of our resource person, Dr. Om Prakash Misra. Ravi sir.
Esteemed dignitaries, learned participants, and dear students, friends, I am doubly privileged. Number one, that I am to introduce a close friend of mine, my classmate, my hostel mate, everything. And second, that I am seeing my friend after 3.5 decades. Actually, he is Sri Om Prakash Misra. We call him OP. He is popularly known as OP, and he is now IPS and Joint Commissioner in EOW at Delhi, having served in several places like Goa, Delhi, Andaman Nicobar, and most specifically his achievements as a police officer in Chandigarh prison management. Actually, he has so many laurels to be sized up in few minutes, because Himanshu, me and Om Prakash all three have been given 20 minutes to size up the total program. But however, such a huge person with us must be introduced in proper words. From the very beginning, Om Prakash has been very diligent, original, and result-oriented. And that has probably given him the status that he is in. Himanshu, you must be remembering that he was the topper of our batch in the Center for the Study of Social System at Jawaharlal Nehru University in 1984. He is not only a successful police officer, but also has several successes and achievements in international humanitarian mission, organizing international events, sports activities in the country, police training, preparing research materials for the students in academia as well as in police training, and a lot more things. I will not tell much about the policing that he has done or successes that he has achieved, because that is widely known about the police medals and all those aspects. The aspect that would interest us is his sustained interest in academics. That is what I want to highlight. He has published his books in Oxford University Press, Sage, Prentice Hall, and nonetheless Manohar, which professors from standard universities might not have ventured. He has his book, Policing Delhi, published by Oxford University Press, is selling like a hot cake. And he has another book on prison management that is called Coffee Table Book. You would be surprised. It is so interesting, full of evidences as to how prison management and prison reform is being done in the society on time-suited and need-based way. Actually, he has also published a couple of articles in journals which are highly reputed, including the Journal of SBNPA, that is the National Police Academy at Hyderabad, and Bureau of Police Research and Development. Very standard articles. I have found 3 IPS officers of his contemporaries who I enjoy reading them. OP, there is another Chaudhary on community policing. He has published with Oxford University Press or Sage, and Satyajit Mohanty in the state of Odisha. So he has also written several articles on disaster management, dowry, and women and child related issues. So I will not eat into his time. Rather, I would congratulate the new university, Kalahandi University, and the new department in the new university for having his consent. And OP, I really send you a very warm welcome, though virtually, and your consent has not only given honor to the new university and the new department in the new university, but also the entire state. OP is abbreviated. There are so many things inside. I think now I request OP to open them up and see on civil policing. Thank you very much. If I have done justice in using the right words to introduce you. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Kalahandi University, Sanjay Satpathy, other faculty members. Today's virtual webinar is a very emotional occasion for me, because as Ravinder had just said, that Himanshu, Ravinder and we were together. So you can call three idiots. We were together in JNU. We were in the same hostel. We were in the same department. So thank you very much, Ravinder. And it's a pleasure meeting both of you almost after 3 decades. You rightly said so. I hope we meet physically also. And thank you very much for saying very kind words. Now, I have a small PowerPoint presentation, and I would just like to have some kind of a structured discussion on the topic. Is it visible? Can everybody see the PPT?
Not yet, OP. Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah, visible now.
Okay. Now let me present a historical context of policing, through which I'll come to the nuances of community policing also. Maintaining peace and order, preventing deviance and crime has always been one of the fundamental concerns for any society, simplest as well as complex societies. Now, the nature and form of the agency to ensure these duties, that has been changing with the changes in the society also. In the modern nation state, these functions are discharged by the police. Now, Indian police system, as we experience today, is a colonial innovation. And we should also understand that nature, form, and priorities of policing has been changing as per the nature and form of governance structure. So the burden of colonial legacy, if we are talking about Indian police, is very important. So we have evolved out of that. And a very distinctive feature of the colonial policing has been the distinction between the ruler and the ruled. I'll come to it in the other slides. Interest of the ruler has been more important than the ruled. Ruled means community. Now, typical police working methodology also created a gap between police and public. So this is a legacy which we have actually inherited over a period of time. I would also like to give you a few important concept which has been used vis-a-vis our interface with the community. I mean, Charles Wyeth, he's a very famous British author who has written on the history of British police also. He made a distinction between ruler-appointed totalitarian police and the kin police, or which he called democratic system of policing, and regime policing or democratic policing. Now, what does these terms mean? You know, regime policing essentially refers to situations in which the police are expected to serve the interest of the particular rulers at that time. All colonial police were known as regime police. Interest of foreign rulers got preponderance over the colonial populace. On the other hand, the democratic policing refers to a system in which the interest of the populace gets priority over the interest of the ruler. This is also known as policing by consent or community-based policing. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who's also known as an Iron Man. Now, these were the words which he said in 1947 for the civil servants, that it will be your bounden duty to treat the common man in India as your own, or to put it correctly, to feel yourself to be one of them and amongst them. And you will have to learn not to despise or to disregard them. In other words, you will have to adopt yourselves to democratic ways of administration. 1947. So, what are the changes in the post-independent? Once India became independent, what are the changes from the point of view of the policing? India became a welfare state, and community became a critical stakeholder in the overall paradigm of policing. This is something contrary to the model of the regime policing. I personally feel that police has emerged as a critical service provider. We have taken up multi-dimensional services, and while delivering some services, we also deliver some very exclusive services. For example, registration of an FIR is also a service delivery to the citizens who approach police during distress. But it's an exclusive service which police can only deliver. Now, if we accept that police is an important or critical service provider, then service provider is evaluated on the basis of the delivery of the services. Now, let me make also a very operational distinction between the community. There are 5% of people in any society who are antisocial, bad characters, lawbreakers, which we could call them, criminals, offenders. Now, they are the people who offend what Durkheim called collective conscience of society. Or these are people who come in conflict with law for various reasons. But we have another 95% of the people in the society. They are law-abiding, they are peace-loving, they approach police during distress. Now they expect police to maintain safety, security, and law and order in the society. And these 95% of the people, they shape the overall perception of police in society. And for police to get their confidence is we have to win their trust, confidence through respect, politeness, courtesy, empathy, help, and transparency in our day-to-day working. So friends, taking community into confidence for policing is critical in image building. This is very important. Another very important factor that we cannot afford to ignore community when 95% of the police resources and logistics are for the community. Their cooperation is very important in critical areas of policing, like prevention and detection of crime, ensuring peace and maintaining law and order in the society. Various community outreach initiatives have been initiated by local police in every state in these particular areas. For example, Delhi Police has many community policing initiatives. I will just give you an example of 2-3 very important initiatives. For example, there's one community policing initiative is Yuva. Now, this is a scheme in which the police tries to bring the people who are vulnerable to commit crime, particularly school dropouts, youth, who indulge into crime because of peer group pressure. And they are brought into mainstream through, there's a vocational training for them. Similarly, for women, for girl children who are studying in schools and colleges, we have a very good community policing initiative that is called Sashakti. Sashakti is essentially to empower a woman to physically handle any kind of an issue if she is walking alone in any area. We also have Eyes and Ears scheme. This is basically a scheme in which the police tries to get information from street vendors, from such people who regularly see so many things happening around and when there is no police presence. And another very important is Nigeban. Nigeban is a scheme in which the police gets in touch with community and motivates them to install various kinds of CCTV cameras in their areas so that if a crime happens post-incident, there is an evidence or there is some clue for them. So community is a very critical component for us. We just cannot ignore. Now coming specifically to the topic, the policing during disaster and pandemic. Handling crises of different types is actually in the DNA of a policeman. You know, policemen are trained to handle different kinds of crises. They have different kind of orientations, refresher courses from time to time to handle difficult situations. So this is a very important part of their professional assignment. But policing during disasters is different from the normal peacetime policing. The paradigm for both is different. Strategy for handling a crisis also depends on the nature and challenges of the crisis. We can't have a straitjacket model for handling every kind of a crisis. And crisis over and above is also a test for any leader and its team members. It is the test for the whole organization also. And by handling different kinds of crisis situation, we develop a professional expertise and acquire resources and logistics for handling a crisis through multiple exposure. Now, COVID-19 pandemic, these had some very specific features. This was unprecedented. The territory was also not very clear, uncharted territory. It came without warning. Nature of virus and transmission, it's so complicated that even scientists all over the world are struggling today to actually define the actual nature and form of this virus. There was no previous protocol or SOP available. And no one was prepared for this. We never knew that this is going to come so that you make extra preparation. So these are some, and it is in this backdrop, the police has to handle certain responsibilities. So what are those important responsibilities? The 3 pillars of preventing spread of virus. We all know this, that we have to wear a mask, maintaining social distancing, cleaning of hands and regular sanitization. And friends, all these 3 pillars, they are actually self-regulatory in nature. You know, human behavior is regulated only through 3 ways. Either we do our own self-regulation in which we are very poor. Second is that societal regulation comes into place. And the third is that if you fail, if you are not able to enforce both, then state comes into it. Then the machinery, then the police comes, and it ensures that these things are actually enforced. So they required voluntary compliance by everyone in the larger interest of the self, society, and nation. But it never happened. So what were the enforcement of COVID protocol by local police? What was our charter of duties during this pandemic? So in 2020, there was a complete lockdown. And why lockdown took place? As I said, that the societal and the self-regulation to ensure both those three pillars failed. So government had to ensure lockdown. This is what happened in the first plague also. Now, so the lockdown to ensure that movements don't take place, this was one of the duties. Ensuring wearing of mask in public place by people. Now, if both these things voluntarily don't happen, then there had to be legal provisions, including prosecution for violations. And police had to adopt community-friendly measures for enforcing the protocol. So what was our operational strategy? You know, the pandemic policing has actually redefined the nature and form of the community policing. Most of these norms which I have discussed of the COVID protocol, they were enforced through what Metropolitan Police in London also quite often uses for their community policing initiatives is 4 E's. You know, engage, explain, encourage, and enforce. The basic objective was to engage the community, to make them aware. First, we engage them that, see, this is a problem. This is a problem. This is a new virus. Then they were explained what is the characteristics of this virus and what is our role, what is the role of a citizen. That was also explained. Then they were encouraged to follow those kinds of guidelines and rules. And finally, it was enforced also. And this was done through the interaction with resident welfare associations, market welfare associations in Delhi. Movement for essential services was also very important. I mean, people, human being, we are all gregarious in nature. And to say that you will not mix with people, this is not something which can be easily achieved. People had to move out. So the police devised methodologies through which this kind of a legitimate movement could also take place. And for essential services, a pass system was there. For example, in Delhi, there was a centralized pass system in which every district superintendent of police or DCP was authorized to issue passes, and it was all online platform through technological solutions, and people used to they could get the printout and they will move with that itself. So situation-specific measures were adopted also. I'll give you an example of a situation-specific measures. In Delhi, Wall City, in the Chandni Chowk, Old Delhi, it's a highly congested area. Now, to ensure that social distancing takes place, to ensure that people don't mix, police even took help of drones so that they are able to see in lanes, by lanes, gali mohalle mein, that how this kind of enforcement is taking place. And over and above, a helping hand was extended wherever it was required. There was a special concern towards women and senior citizens. And I'd like to give you 2 very good examples in Delhi here. That in Delhi, in the first lockdown, when there was no public transport which was available for movement of the people, police control room used to get distress call from ladies who were in the advanced stage of their advanced stage of their pregnancy. At least 843 or more than that, such women were shifted by the police control room vans from their residence to the hospitals. In some police van itself, the deliveries also took place. Similarly, police also had to actually organize when the migrant laborers were stranded here. They organized many activities for them. I'll show you some of those photographs in the coming slides also. But all these things in the backdrop of this, as doctors and the police, they are called frontline warrior. We had no choice. We couldn't be inside. A policeman could not afford to be inside. He could not afford to maintain the norm of social distancing. He had to discharge duties on the road. So he, securing himself and his family member, that was a very great challenge also for the police while we were trying to enforce the pandemic policing. several policemen lost their lives. You know, according to one of the assessment of the figures, more than at least approximately 2,000 people lost their lives in, on all India basis in CAPF and in the civil police also. Simultaneously, another major challenge was that we had to handle emerging law and order situations related to the lockdown. If it is not followed, how? We also had to ensure normal policing, that citizens are safe, thefts don't take place, other things don't happen into the society. We couldn't afford to ignore the normal policing which happens during distress policing. So another challenge was also preparing the force to cope with the challenges, that you have to serve also, you have to secure yourself also. So initiatives to continue dialogue and communication with the community in the frame of COVID protocol, that was also adopted by them. And police had to adopt newer forms of crime generated by the pandemic. You know, crisis also turns into an opportunity for criminals. You may have recently heard that Delhi police busted a gang of cyber criminals which had a base of 300 people, and they were cheating. They were earlier into this Jamtara gang of only taking out money through fraudulent means from the bank accounts. They started also asking people for oxygen cylinders and all that. This gang was busted and people were actually arrested from a place called Bihar, Nalanda in Bihar. So this was another very important challenge. So when I said that COVID-19 has reflected another phase of policing in India, Himanshu was saying in the beginning that normally police people are known lathi chalate hai. Our gap between the police and the public and the community has been our operational methodology only. A police station jaane mein dar lagta hai. We have distress, we don't want to. So this was, apart from colonial legacy, this was also because of our day-to-day working. But this pandemic policing has actually reflected the other side of the policing also, which has empathy, where compassion has come to the fore, where care has been reflected, where sympathy and concern. And this has been shown all over the world. I think in Indian police has in every state such kind of things have definitely come. We do have good and bad scenario. We also had incidents in Tuticorin where father and son, they were also actually tortured and they died while enforcing the COVID-19 protocol only. But more or less, this has been the other face of the Indian police during pandemic. These are some of the visuals. You know, this is regulating the movement of the stranded passengers who are trying to move from the railway station. These are some of the activities which took place. These were the community kitchens which were organized by the police in the police stations. We also, this is also another face of the police which emerged during pandemic. This is plasma donation in which the health minister came here in the All India Institute of Medical Sciences with the Commissioner of Police Delhi. So the overall conduct and behavior of Indian police received a lot of accolades from citizens as a critical frontline COVID-19 barrier. Now, this is not a plain statement. There was a survey which was conducted by C Voter and Pollstar between 23rd to 30th April 2020. And their finding was the trust level of citizens in police force as an institution increased drastically in 2022 to an all-time high of 69.9%, which was just 29.9% in 2018. I will end by a very good saying by Martin Luther King Jr., that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. This has been actually a very trying times and a testing times for the Indian police, global police as a whole during the pandemic. And I only wish that the new face of policing which has emerged becomes the normal face of policing after the pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Misra. In one line, I will say spellbound, and I won't venture into much because I'll be take up some of the portion from Amiya sir. So I'll leave it to him. And thanks for being with us. And it is excellent. You may have to answer some of the question which the audience may ask. I'll request the participant to pen down their questions in the chat box. We won't have time for a oral communication. So Mr. Haldar Sahu is there to look after. He will sort out questions, and that will write the person whom you are asking, and be very brief about your question, and write it in chat box. And as much question as possible will be answered, depending upon the time available. Thank you, OP, once again. Now I'll call upon another friend of mine, again from a different profession, policing, but he's a intermixing or police and academics, because he's in the Biju Patnaik State Police Academy, and in a way he's also academician because he has done his master's, his MPhil, and about to finish his PhD, and that too under Professor Ravindra Kumar Mohanty. I'll call upon Mr. Guru Prasad Sipsankar Nanda to introduce our resource person, Mr. Pinak Misra. Nanda sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I welcome all to the national seminar, the social policing during pandemic strategies and challenges. I deem it as a great privilege and honor to introduce Sri Pinak Misra, IPS. Sir belongs to 64 RR of 2011 batch of Indian Police Service, and not only born into the Odisha cadre, but also is the proud son of the soil. Sri Misra is the alumni of this university, the erstwhile Government Autonomous College, Bhavani Patna. Sir completed his master's and MPhil in sociology from the prestigious Center for the Study of Social System, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. As an IPS officer, he joined Odisha Police in December 2012, completed his practical training in Jajpur district. He was SDPO Malkanagiri, additional SP Navaranpur. Sir had also the privilege to head the district as superintendent of police in Nuapada. He was SP Kandhamal, was SP Sundargarh, and presently working as superintendent of police, Berhampur. Sri Misra was awarded with DGP disc in the year 2017 and a good number of appreciation for his excellence in police management. His expertise and experience in social policing for successfully managing during natural disasters like a super cyclone, Fani, and combating the present pandemic with care and responsible policing have brought him enough name in Odisha Police, nay, the country. On behalf of the Kalahandi University and on behalf of the Sociology Fraternity, I accord a warm welcome to you, sir. It's a fantastic experience to have you in our midst. May I now have the privilege and request to Sri Misra to share his ground zero experiences in the perspective of social policing during this pandemic. Sir, please.
Good evening. Good evening to all the participants. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, perfectly, Pinak.
Sir, I'm really sorry. I've been struggling hard to set this webinar in my laptop, but I'm not able to do that. Sir, thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar. Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University, the Registrar of the University, today's resource person and my senior in the service, respected Om Prakash Mishra sir, my mentor, and always a source of inspiration, Himanshu sir. All those who have joined from the Biju Patnaik State Police Academy, the faculty members of the Kalahandi University, my friends. I could able to see a few of them who are my friends from Bhavani Patna. It's really a privilege and an honor on my part to be speaking in this webinar. As you all have already been introduced to this social aspect of policing under the title Social Policing during the pandemic, it was a very academic presentation by Om Prakash Mishra sir. It was full of experience, and it was as if, you know, years of experience is being reflected in those few slides that OP Mishra sir deliberated upon. However, I shall restrict my talk, or I shall restrict my participation to my own experiences. I have been working in the field since the last almost 10 years. Prior to this, I will stretch a little, though the topic of the webinar is social policing during this pandemic. I will stretch it a little and I will take back the social aspect of policing to the time since I have joined in the police force in Odisha Police. And I will mostly be sharing my own experiences. First, I joined as a young officer in Malkangiri in 2012-13, when the scourge of left-wing extremism was at an all-time high, and Naxalism was the main problem in that area. So, having been introduced to the world of policing and having joined as my first posting in such a area, I could find out the virtues of social policing. And I was surprised to find out the dichotomy that exists, that what a police person is expected to do and what he exactly does. As as we all know, and we always tell that the main job or the primary job of the police is maintenance of law and order, prevention, detection and investigation of crime, collection of intelligence. And these are the main functions of a police in the society. We restrict ourselves to maintenance of law and order, and we restrict ourselves to prevention of crime. And once a crime takes place, the next job is detection of crime and finally investigation of crime. So this is what we are supposed to do. But with the change in the social structure, with the change in the social relations, with the onset of various different social complexities, we find ourselves in different positions. Say, for instance, when I was a young officer serving in the most remotest part of the country, in Malkangiri, in Noapada, I remember those times when, apart from policing, I have extended much. My social side of my job was way ahead than the normal policing activities that I was doing. So this is just to put the entire things in perspective. Then I was introduced to the social aspect of policing, how important police force is, and how diversified the role of a police is when there is a social problem, was evident when I was again posted during the one of the most severe cyclone not in way back in 2013 in Thailand. It was in Thailand where I saw again the social side of policing, evacuation of people from the villages, taking them to cyclone shelters, ensuring that they are being provided with food, water, medicine. As Om Prakash Mishra sir rightly pointed out, transferring pregnant ladies to hospitals, children to children homes, and then after the cyclone or after the devastation, attending to the call of each and every person, finding out, these are all. I was exposed to this side of policing. So, as a police officer, I was well aware of what are the roles of a police in a society are. And then came the pandemic. I will focus on a few aspects that we have been through or we have been going through since the last 2 years. The pandemic was new to us. It was unprecedented. I would borrow from the slides of my seniors. It was unprecedented. It was uncharted. No one knew anything. And an entire generation, for people from my generation, and in fact, for many generations, we were not aware of how, society behaves in a pandemic. How society behaves in a pandemic, how individuals behaves in a pandemic, what are the outcome in social institutions during the times of pandemic. How a family behaves, how family members behave. These were all evident, and we have been going through this since the last 2.5 years. First, the onset of pandemic. We saw how difficult it was. The government decided to close the country. With all their wisdom, they took a decision that the country should be closed to stop the infection. And we all knew how it unfolded. Thousands and thousands of migrant laborers were on the road. And my district received the highest number of migrant laborers from any other, from the other states. In Ganjam, in undivided Ganjam, we received around 5 lakh migrant laborers. That was a huge number. And in addition to that, though we share a border and though the main road passes through our district, we used to witness hundreds of people walking on the road. Then what do? We cannot restrict ourselves to our core functions. Then the social aspects of policing or the social aspect of police as an institution comes into play. I remember arranging food, water. I remember arranging transportation, liaising with the different agencies, and in fact, engaging with the community. And I'm very optimistic, and I should say it with pride and with a sense of satisfaction, that it is absolutely true that once you engage with the community honors you and honors your intention. The intent of police was clear. It was evident for everyone to see. We were helping people. We were reaching out to them. We were providing shelter to the walking migrants. We were providing food to them. And this within the limited resources. And at such point of time, we cannot burden the administration as well, because the administration was busy revamping the medical infrastructure. The administration was busy preparing for COVID centers. And everything was taking place at one particular point of time. And let me tell you that no one, very few in the administration well averse with what was unfolding before us. And then the intent of the policeman was never doubted. Whenever we approach to the community, whenever we approach to other civil society, whenever we approach to any organization, they came out and supported us. So this is a absolutely classic example of social policing, because generally the feelings is the same. The feeling is mutual. We tend to avoid the community tends to avoid us. I mean, it is always told that we should not be, messing up with police. The police station is a dreaded place. The police people are dreaded, and they are people fear the police people. They don't come out with their own grievances. But still, in addition to our own roles and responsibilities, police throughout the country was doing all this. We have a first-hand experience because we received lakhs and lakhs of migrant labor. Lakhs and lakhs, around 5 lakh migrant laborers we received within a span of a month or a month and 1.5 months. Transporting them to their temporary health centers, then maintaining law and order in the temporary medical centers throughout the district. Initially, there was resistance from the villages, from the locality, not to allow them inside the village. The villagers were not willing to allow the migrant labor to stay in the temporary healthcare center in their panchayats, in their villages. So this was all happening, and police was engaged throughout. And I am very happy, and it was a learning experiment, an experience for me, and that will ensure positivity in me throughout my life. That whenever we went back to the community, our intent was never questioned, and our intention was honored. So that we were able to serve hundreds and thousands of people during this time of distress and crisis. Another aspect that I want to highlight, the small experimentation that all district police did during this time of crisis. As Sir was pointing out, that what Delhi police has been doing, in all the districts, we tried to come out with our own arrangement and experimentation. Say, for instance, once there was a lockdown, I will only cite a few examples. Once lockdown was effected, there was a problem of domestic violence. We received many calls. So that, sir, we are not able to come to the police station. We are not able to come to Mahila police station. We are not able to come to the police station and report. And we are facing huge problem in our households, inside our houses. So how to deal with that? Then again, we made a special a team, and a phone number was allotted, and the call went on increasing, and the team attended to the caller who was a victim of domestic violence. Say, for instance, senior citizens. There are in an urban setting or in a town or a city, there are many senior citizens that don't have their son and daughter staying with them. So they have been trying to call us, and they try to reach to us. But what do we do? The basic medicine, their groceries, their basic requirements, the day-to-day requirements. How do we do that? So we established a senior citizen cell, and we put a few people of the respective police stations to work, and they would cater to their immediate needs, such as medicine, milk, and we went to the extent of delivering medicine, groceries, milk to the senior citizens who don't have their son and daughter or anyone to take care of them. And when the lockdown was effected and the infection was rising, people were first there were very distressing images and distressing news.
Sir,
People stopped donating blood. The blood bank went. There was huge shortage of blood in the bank. So our response was, we created a database of our police personnel with the respective blood group. We issued a number, or we asked the people to dial 100 and to call us in a particular number, so that our volunteers, our people will go and reach out to them and ensure that voluntary blood donation is done. So these are a few examples that comes to my mind when I talk of social aspect of policing, and these are all experiential. I don't have any. These are all experiential that I have experienced, and I'm sure that. And when we used to talk to our backmates and friends, everyone throughout the country did this in their own way. Everybody tried to reach to the people. Everybody tried to help as many people as they can, and it was an absolutely a delight to see that the police as an institution responding to the crisis in such a way, in such an empathetic and a sympathetic manner. So, so this is what I have experienced and I have been experiencing till date, and we are still trying to reach out to as many people as we can, because we know that the time we are still in a crisis, in the mid of a crisis. We are not able to. We are yet to come out of it. And my takeaways or my learning point for the last 1.5 years or 2 years has been that structurally or fundamentally people are good. And I completely agree with Om Prakash Mishra sir when he pointed out that only 5% of the people you can find they are in contravention with law, or you can find with an intent of with a criminal intention, but 95% of the people are good. Though I don't have any study with me to quantify it, though I don't have any empirical study to quantify it and to present it before you. But yes, if I am as a junior member of the police force, if I am asked, I would also be saying the same, that majority of the people are good, so the universe is good. Or to borrow the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi, when he says that there is positivity, the base of the universe, or the edifice of the universe or the world that we live in is positive. So bearing a few problems or issues, or bearing a few flaws, we should not be, these are my takeaways, we should not be painting the police in a single brush of an organization that threatens people, an organization that harass people, an organization that use unnecessary and disproportionate force on its own people. So this may be theoretically correct, and this may be amplified as and when it takes place, but the good that has been done in the last 2 years is absolutely satisfying and mind-blowing. And with this, with this huge sense of satisfaction, with an experience, with a spiritual experience of extending helping hands to the people during this time of need, I again say that we both the maxim or the mindset that we have, that we tend to avoid the community and the community tends to avoid us, is a faulty one. If we reach out to the community and the community understands our intent, then they honor us. And similarly, it is our duty to honor them. The strategies in the coming days, what I can understand is to engage with the community more and more in our day-to-day policing activities, not only in this time of crisis, but in fact in our day-to-day policing activities also, to engage with the community more and more, and to make our intentions clear to the community, so that they reciprocate with the same belief and faith on the police organization as a whole. This is what I have been experiencing since the last 2 years, and I'm extremely delighted that I have been invited to speak on this webinar. My sincere thanks and to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, to Himanshu sir, to all those who have tried to organize this webinar. My thanks to Om Prakash Mishra sir for his scholarly and academic presentation. My thanks to my colleagues from the BPSPA for his generous introduction, and all my friends who have been listening to me since the last 10 minutes. I thank you once again to all of you, and I look forward to joining you in such seminars, in such webinars and talks in the days to come. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Menak. And rest assured, we'll be calling you again and again, provided you can give some time, because I know the time is a premier for you people. And in a way, you complemented what OP said through your practical experience. And it is said that one experience worth more than 100 books. So thank you very much for explaining all those things through your practical experiences. And from both the talk, we must agree that a different face of policing has emerged during this pandemic, and the conception that police pitega to police hena, that is coming out. Thank you very much. Now, I have been lucky that whomever I have asked for help, they have extended their help wholeheartedly. And I'll now request the captain, Dr. Joydev Sahu, head of the department police, one of the dynamic colleague in this university, to give a brief introduction of our Vice Chancellor. He is known to all of us, but since we are dealing with a wider audience, and that is required. Dr. Sahu.
Thank you, sir. My regards to all esteemed guests. Really, I'm honored to introduce the captain of our chief, that is Kalahandi University. Question is haunting my mind, that who will paint a rainbow? Because rainbow is already of 7 colors and it is difficult to paint it. My words are incompetent and not sufficient and insufficient to describe a towering personality. Professor Sanjay Kumar Satpathy sir, who is at present our Vice Chancellor. However, I have to speak a few words about him. I don't know whether I shall be able to introduce him properly or not, because he has a profile of 25 pages and it is not possible on my part to introduce, to tell all the profile of our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir. Professor Satpathy is an eminent scholar and academician in commerce, and he did a School of Commerce and Management, Ravenshaw University. He has more than 36 years of teaching experience in different colleges and in Ravenshaw University. He has served in many capacities in these colleges and university, and he has a sound knowledge about the academic administration of colleges and university. Professor Satpathy holds his PhD degree on the economic development of Kalahandi district, and he is very closely associated with Kalahandi. And let me tell you all that he has a lot of imagination and dream for our Kalahandi district, for the upliftment of Kalahandi district. An outstanding academic achiever himself, Professor Satpathy has been instrumental in steering our university and all the affiliated colleges towards academic excellence and encouraging faculty and staff to undertake research. Besides being an academician, Professor Satpathy is also a creative writer, and very often I see a Shakespeare in him. Professor Satpathy is also a singer and a radio and TV artist. You might be watching him in Kalinga TV almost every day to him. And he has written a number of books to his credit, both in Odia and English language. And very important thing is that he is an innovative person, and for his innovation he has got a patent right over the fourth monkey concept. Mahatma Gandhi had given concept of 3 monkeys, but the fourth one has been given by Professor Satpathy sir. Think no evil. The monkey tells think no evil, and he has got his patent right for that. He has many awards and decorations to his credit. I cannot mention here. Recently, on 11th May 2021, he was awarded with the Golden M Award for his excellence and leadership in education. In short, or in a line, Professor Satpathy is a dreamer as well as a man of action, a visionary personality who is there to guide us properly. Within a month of each joining, all of us see how our Kalahandi University has got the right direction, and several webinars have been arranged under his leadership. So, thank you, sir. We are very much privileged and proud to have you with us as our Honorable Vice Chancellor. So, you are most welcome to deliver your valuable speech on this beautiful topic that is quite relevant today. Thank you. Thank you, sir. You are welcome, sir.
Pranam, I pray before Ma Manikeswari to bless all of you, particularly the police community of the country, of the world, who are doing an excellent job at this juncture, the pandemic policing, which I can tell. Experience has no parallel, so I shouldn't add to the things. Rather, it will be interesting to go for question answer session. I will just speak for 2 minutes. I feel richer being listening to OP, and I find the QRs are there. The Q is OP, first R is Ravindra, and second R is Sarangi Himansu. So the Trishul was very interesting for me. They are meeting after 30 years and being together, the happiness which they have got in their heart, that is again a pleasure for me. Then Pinak from the same college. I have also my student Chintamani Patra with him working there in Berhampur. My son is reading there in Ayurvedic College. So I'm in watch with Barampur, what is happening since last 2 years. I have that inquisitiveness, curiosity to watch over the things what is done where. So Pinac, we are doing a very great job. I'm happy. And clubbing up all the things which I have listened, I will end up in a minute. What is required, OP will definitely agree with me in that regard. That is, self-policing is highly required. The EQ and SQ, the emotional quotient and the spiritual quotient of the people should go for the self-policing and obey the things, because we can police to how many people? At what time? What is the number? And what is the number of people? So I pray to all the listeners, whether I pray to the countrymen, to the people at large, please go for self-policing so that we can break the chain, we can see a better world. The pain is not for me or you. Pain is not for the people who are in police or who are in administration, but the pain is with each person, and everybody should think of the responsibility, the individual social responsibility should be ignited. I end with a line that is by C.V. Raman. At the age of 82, he had given a message. I would like to tell the young men and women before me not to lose hope and courage. Success can only come to you by courageous devotion to the task lying in front of you. I can assert without fear of contradiction that the quality of the Indian mind is equal to the quality of any Teutonic, nomadic, or Anglo-Saxon mind. What we lack is perhaps courage. What we lack is perhaps driving force, which takes one anywhere. We have, I think, developed an inferiority complex. I think what is needed in India today is the destruction of that defiant spirit. We need a spirit of victory, a spirit that will carry us to our rightful place under the sun, a spirit which will recognize that we, as inheritors of a proud civilization, are entitled to a rightful place on this planet. So if that indomitable spirit were to arise, nothing can hold us from achieving our rightful destiny. So with these words, I end up. I congratulate Pinac. We'll be meeting sometime definitely, but I am watching you very often, being connected to TV for years. So it is there, and my special thanks goes to OP. You have ignited the minds of my students, my faculty, and many others who are listening. I have also communicated to Satyajit whether he is my classmate. We were there in Revansa in 1977 to 79. I don't know whether he could make time to listen, but I will send him definitely the recording which is there. So thank you again to all of you, and special thanks to Himanshu for setting a bigger standard, like the standards are set for high jumpers. So now much better things are on the way, and that will come for a infant university like Kalahandi University. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, sir. Your words combined with your smile has got no parallel. I don't know from where that comes from. That need investigation. My two police officers are there, maybe assigned with that task.
Yeah, you can give that charge to a friend, OP. He can know.
I'm sorry that I'm not visible because something has happened with my camera. Some other software has taken over it. So I have to restart my computer. So I beg your pardon for that. Now is the time for...
We should...
Pardon, sir?
We should finish up quickly because we are taking
Sir.
press time, hard press time of Pinak and OP. We should go ahead.
Okay, sir. Then I propose we should go for the vote of thanks part, then interaction. That will be better.
We can take 2-3 questions, then vote of thanks.
Okay.
Vote of thanks
Okay,
will a minute.
Okay, sir.
Because we should treat them.
Now I
they are at
request
work.
my young colleagues, Mr. Haldar Sahu, HOD Commerce, to take over the interaction session. Keep an eye on the time, Haldar. Haldar Sahu, are you there? Hello, Haldar. I think he's rejoining. I think he's rejoining. This sort of things happen in this platform.
Hello. Professor Sanjay Samantara wants to speak a few words.
Hi, good evening, everybody. This is Haldar Sahu. I think we are ready for the question answer session now. Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, sir. At the outset, I extend my deepest appreciation to both Om Prakash sir and Pinaki Mishra sir and the police fraternity as a whole. They put their life forward to make us safe and at their risk of family and themselves. It requires a huge salute for every one of you. Thank you so much for doing this for this country and the whole world as well. The first question comes from a person called Himanshu Mishra. He has raised this question and directed to OP staff that whether this 4E strategy adopted by police at large or confined to Delhi only. At different places, people coming outside are brutally beaten. What is your observation, sir?
I could not hear the question very clearly, but what you mean to say that the policy adopted in Delhi, how is it in other places? Is that the question?
Yes, sir. Is that thing everywhere, or is it only confined to Delhi?
You see, as Pinak has given his own perspective of such initiatives, community policing initiatives, what is happening in Berhampur and in other previous postings. So, policing again has a very specific area responsibility also. Delhi has typical responsibilities. So, what is true for Delhi in some places may not be true for Berhampur. The concerns of the community in Berhampur will again be, or for that reason, in any other place in Bihar, MP or other. So metropolitan cities policing concerns during the pandemic has been different. You know what? One of the very striking features of this pandemic is that this pandemic has not affected the at least second wave. It is not that much true. During the first wave, it did not affect the rural areas as much as it affected the urban areas, which is something different. You know, in the plague, which happened in the first plague, it was the villages and the rural areas were actually the main affected area. This is a very important difference. So, what is true for Delhi? Because in Delhi, it's a metropolitan policing. You have different concerns here. People have. You may have seen a video in which a couple was arguing with a policeman who stopped a car in Daryaganj just to enforce, just to say that if you are sitting in your car, please wear mask. And as Honorable Vice Chancellor has very rightly said, there was no need. You see, it's an irony of our country that you are prosecuted for not wearing a helmet. Your head is going to be safe. But you are prosecuted that your head becomes safe. So because you are not wearing it. But in this case, your violation doesn't limit to you only. Your violation has implications for your family. It has implications for the whole society as a whole. So in other places, the reaction to the enforcements were quite different. And as I told you, in this scenario, only when we have too many good Samaritans, you also had a reaction in Tuticorin, where during the father and son, they were dragged and they were touched. This should not have happened. That's another dimension of the enforcement. So what is true for Delhi, but the spirit, what Pinak also said, what spirit of serving the community, extending a helping hand. You know, the police control room, there is a dedicated helpline which Delhi police has, control room has, where only COVID-related call comes. We used to get calls that I'm in Canada, I'm in US, my parents are staying at this particular place, they need medicines. Now, another way to react to was, why should we do that? We are not supposed to do that. But since we have a community policing related to senior citizens, medicines were procured, they were delivered by our beat constables. Similar thing what Pinak said in his own areas also, because in crisis, people come, they come looking for you for some kind of a help. And people approach police only during distress. And in distress, somebody helps empathy. He helps sympathy. So that is why in the end of my presentation, I said that I would like this narrative of policing which has emerged in the pandemic to be a normal characteristics of the Indian police as a whole.
Thank you so much, sir. There is another question. The relationship between the police and government is cordial due to strategic measure of the government or by the department or by the attitude of policemen. This question has been raised by Professor Siba Behra. Could somebody would like to answer, whether OP sir or Pinak sir? His particular point is that how this cordial relation is established between government and the police, not with the people.
Pinak, would you like to react?
Sir, can I have the question again? I thought it was for Om Prakash sir.
Okay, I'll answer, then maybe you can add it later on. You see, the police is the most visible organ of the state. The basic responsibility for police is to enforce those laws and regulations for enforcement, whatever. I mean, the implementation of law has to be ensured by the police only. And the relationship of the police and the government, it cannot be at cross purposes. You know, if there is a regulation which has been made during the pandemic that people have to use masks, people have to, they don't have to move during the lockdown, then to enforce this depends on the law enforcing agency only. And this was again also very true during that. In fact, the 1897 Epidemic Diseases Act, which is used even today, it has the genesis in the first place. And there also you will be surprised that the directions, if they were violated, they also had those directions that the police and the administration is given the responsibility to enforce. When they were not able to control it through the social regulations, through the self-regulation of the people, then this act came into existence, which is even used today. It is being quoted. And in that act, the violation at that time used to be that if somebody violates that, then it has to be prosecuted under section 188 of the IPC. So when you are enforcing laws, you cannot be at cross purposes. So the relationship has to be definite. It is always, we are a part of the system. We are part of an organized, I mean a broader structure in a federal government.
Thank you, sir. Would Pinak sir would like to add something to that? or shall I move to the next question?
So this is regarding the enforcement of the provisions in the epidemic law vis-a-vis the police. Is that what you want me to reflect upon?
No, so the question goes like this: that why there is a cordial relation between the police and government, and we don't seems to have that kind of relation with the public.
There is that it may be this question may be coming out of your I don't know, maybe coming out of your presumption about the police, but we are a part of the government. There's no question of cordial relationship with the government. We are a part of the government. We are an organ of the government, and we are here to enforce the. We are here to enforce the rules and regulations as framed by the government. And what Mishra sir told. Yes. Please go ahead.
I'm just conveying the participants' viewpoints. Okay, sir. This question is directed to Pinak Mishra, sir. It is directed to Pinak Mishra, sir. As a police officer, you have worked in very tiring situation. Have you ever thought of or felt frustrated and thought in terms of quitting the job?
No, I mean, this is a very difficult question, but we never thought of quitting the job. And yes, police works in very difficult situation. And what is, I will take this opportunity to speak a few words. And we have batchmates and friends throughout the country, and we all go through the same rigor, same stress. We all go through the same work culture, more or less, and we work in the same environment, more or less. And the experience is also the same. It might be a matter of degree, but the experience is same. Certainly not the training, police training, followed by everyday experiences, followed by the personal satisfaction when you reach out to the people, help them in their dire needs. These all keeps us motivating, and these all acts as a catalyst for every one of us to go ahead. And despite the promise and challenge of this job, once a policeman, always a policeman, one who has enjoyed doing policing and has been accepted by the society and people at large, he or she would never thought of quitting the police. Rather, this is what we live for, and every morning we get up and we are busy with our job, and we, at the end of the day, we derive satisfaction that we are able to contribute to the society in one small way or the other. So absolutely not. I have never come across things like quitting the police. Rather, every day and every situation that I have faced since the last many years have reinforced my faith in the department, and it keeps me going.
Okay, we saw that positivity in your face.
Sorry,
no doubt about it.
there is an intrusion. Sorry for this. OP, how do you react to that question? OP, कभी भाग जाने को मन किया क्या?
Sir, your mic is mute. OP, sir, your mic is mute. Please turn it on.
I think Pinak has made a very important thing. As I said, you are serving an organization in which people look upon you with a lot of expectations and hope. And you really do not know that even a small smile which you bring on the face of a person who approaches you in distress, this is something which is really, I had several occasions where I could feel that, because of some actions which was initiated, the person felt happy. So that is where I think our trust deficit vis-a-vis community lies there only. And again, I'm saying that what we have been able to generate. And again, when I say it is for 95% of the people, the larger community, they do expect us to be responsive to them. And quite often I say that it's a, the police stations is the front desk is a duty officer's desk, is a OPD of a whole hospital. It's a OPD of a hospital. The police people go there in distress. So of course I never, and let me tell you that being trained in sociology, this profession gave me so much of insight to understand the intricacies. I mean, you come across totally different narratives of social relationship, which you normally would not. I mean, where a son would like a case to be registered against his father, a daughter-in-law would like a case to be registered against. So there are demystifications of many, I would say, in fact, aspects of the social relationships. And over and above this gave me my second, in fact, passion always was academics. So this gave me a lot of insight to understand the policing from that point of view. So that is what, I think that is the reason probably why you have called me, isn't it?
Okay, that's a nice answer to the question.
Halder sir will take up only one more question.
Last question.
Himanshu, I must say the signature line for OP and Pinak. Once a stone rolls in the stream from the mountain, it cannot go back. It will be either crushed, will be a pebble or a salagram. So
You very
in
right.
that way, OP, I think.
You said it, sir. I must say you said it. You actually said it. And people, when we come from the middle class background, we know the constants of joining a service and all. Somebody asking Pinak now at this stage that were you thinking of quitting a job? But and he really answered, why should the kind of satisfaction which is getting against many stress? I mean, the policeman's family, people don't understand that there was a person once came complaining against me, against a constable, ye aisa karta, waisa karta and all that. And he was from a very posh locality. So I told him that मैं एक दिन का पूरे उसका एक महीने का सैलरी मैं आपको दे दूंगा, अपना भी मैं सैलरी दे दूंगा. Can you live a life of a constable even for a day? You can see what kind of a stress and constancy goes from since morning until whether there are policemen who are not able to meet their. See, the other side is also definitely very, as he rightly said, that stress is, and a lot of our policemen, they die at an early age because of stress serving the community only.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, there are many
To
more
speak in the
questions.
commercial language, we will stop the questions now. It's already much time. We have to leave those people. But we can take up the smile and the glow in the face of both OP and Pinak. That is the answer to the question and many of the questions which are there. And I again repeat, whoever are questioning about police, go for self-policing. You are the police of your body. You are the police of your mind. You are the police of your psyche. You are the police of your spirit. Go through that. The things will be very nice and
Exactly.
Very, very good.
You are right.
We stop here our interaction session now. Thanks both our resource person for interacting so nicely. Now I will request Dr. Amya Kumar Jaina, Principal Morsaghai College, and he is also the President of Odisha Sociological Society. And first of all, I thank him for extending his cooperation for this institution. Amya sir, please.
Thank you all. Thank you, Sadangi Babu. It's a nice presentation on behalf of Department of Sociology, that's Kalandya University. I'm fortunate enough and I convey my thankfulness to firstly to the university and the Department of Sociology to being select me for this webinar to present my vote of thanks. On behalf of Odisha Sociology Fraternity, I also thanks all the sociology scholars and faculties and students those who are joined with this webinar. I hope it has been a meaningful afternoon for all of us to a privilege, and I give a vote of thanks to all of those who helped make this assembly happen. So at the outset, I must Thanks all those participants. Those include students, teachers, academicians, research scholars, persons from the police department, journalists, officers from the Indian Armed Force, etc., without which this webinar will be not a successful one. So thanks for being with us and encourage us. At the outset, I must appreciate the presentation of Professor Misra, O.P. Misra, who has commendably present as a topic theoretically as well as from empirical point of view. Due to, sir, your vast experience in active policing, you could provide a theoretical and a historical perspective on community policing, and also discussed about the strategy and challenges of COVID-19 with service community policemen. Thanks for giving of Department of the State, Kalahandi University. Thank you, sir. Next, I could have extend my vote of thanks to Mr. Pinak Misra, the SP Ganjam, who you are young, sir, energetic and almost like a blank sheet of paper with full of knowledge and possibilities. I think in so early in your career, you have become an experienced and social policing, particularly during natural disaster. You spoke from your experience in dealing with situations associated with the super cyclone Fani and recent pandemic COVID-19. You have nicely illustrated how pandemic policing has projected a different face of police. Thanks for giving time for a busy schedule and being with us in this afternoon. Wish you a very bright career ahead, sir. Next, I would like to convey my best of thanks to my friend, dear friend, Rabi, who happens to be my classmate at Kendrapida College and now at Mizoram University. Yes, Mizoram Central University, for exhibiting such a commend, being a part of this webinar. Your presence is a value added to factor that's endeavor. Thank you, Rabi, once again. Now I extend my vote of thanks to Padmalochan Bhuye, the Registrar at Kalahandi University. Sir, you are very much friendly and non-assuming presence has always created friendly and a stress-free environment in the workplace. Thanks for giving the impetus to today's discussion. Thanks a lot for your kind appearance in this way in this webinar. Next, I must convey my gratefulness to Professor Sanjay Satpathy, the Vice Chancellor for newly created university, that is Kalahandi University, sir. Sir, you are working bundle of ideas. You also know the ways of means to execute those. You are the main inspiration behind this webinar. You expressed your mind in such a limited way that any summarize that would be just mundane. So I am thinking your Vinay presence in this webinar is a highly and commendable one. Sir, I thank on behalf of your university and Department of Sociology and also on the Fraternity of Sociology, that is Odisha Sociological Society, on this occasion for your kind and allowing me to say a few words in your university on behalf of Department of Sociology, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I extend my vote of thanks to the Divyaranjan Sahu, Department of English, and also Professor Haldar Sahu, Department of Commerce, and Mr. Vishnu Prasad Chaudhary, those who have given technical guidance and also conduct and cooperating this webinar in an exemplary way. So I must extend all thanks to the participating persons and the students and the the participants, those who are interact with our chief speakers. Thanks all. I remain. Thank you. Now I over to Sadangi. Please, Himanshu.
Thank you, Amir sir. Thanks for extending your help. We'll be taxing you more in future. Be prepared for it.
Yes.
At the end, I will say that the किनारे पे जा लगी कश्ती, तूफान से सिकवा क्या. Thanks everybody for having such a knowledgeable gathering and experience. I am sure there has been a lot of takeaway from many of us from this webinar. Thank you very much. And with the permission of our Revered Vesi, I will declare this webinar to end here.
Himanshu,
just we can tell one sentence. There are more than 200 participants. If one question will be taken from each one, that will be 200 minutes. So the time frame is allowing. Another thing is, we have already taken a much valuable time of Pinack and OP sir. So we should leave them now, and in future we can again interact these things, and I wish they will enjoy definitely with this. Let each of us should pray. Not only that, each of us should act and magnetize others to act in a systematic way if we have at all listened this webinar. Thank you.
Himanshu,
OP was, yes.
Yes, I'll just, I would like to thank Kalahandi University for giving me this opportunity to interact. I would especially like to thank the Vice Chancellor who actually sat throughout this webinar. This normally doesn't happen in any other webinar. That shows your concern towards this. And I really feel honored to have participated in this, sir. And as Himanshu said, you have an infectious smile, sir. It's really, I mean, that is something which actually inspires many people, that you should always be smiling under adverse situations, also in pandemic. Pinack also has, I can see his smile. So with these words, sir, I thank the university, and thank you, Himanshu, for in fact giving me this opportunity also. Thank you very much.
Thanks, OP, again. And again, you emphasize that needs further investigation, what I was telling about BC, sir.
That will do when we meet in person, okay, after post-pandemic, okay?
Okay, then, gentlemen, that's for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you.